Well, good morning and welcome into the Steven Singer Studios. I'm Marc Farzetta and welcome to the Farzy Show. Before we do anything today, I just want to make one proclamation for people in case there's any confusion. I know there's a lot of rumors, a lot of hot takes out there. I just want to clarify one thing about me.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
Hey, we got that out of the way. There we go. I'm going to make you a promise today, folks, and we're going to go back to that video and give you the full context of it. But I'm going to make you a promise today. I feel you when it comes to talking about a certain football player that currently plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. At least that's his employment status right now, employed by the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to mention that guy's name. He's a strawberry blonde. Some like to use the term ginger, although I try to stay away from it. I'm not going to refer to him. I'm not going to mention his name for the first 15 minutes of the show. That much I promise you. Because there's nothing new to report, at least not yet, at least not now. And plus, our guest coming up a little bit before 6:20, Adam Caplan, our good friend from Inside the Birds podcast. Guess what? He's going to be joining us, and he'll give us all the latest on that particular player. So we're going to push that aside. And as a service to you, the great people of Philadelphia, the fan base of Philadelphia, as a service to you, I stayed up last night to watch every second of that 76ers game. And I'll tell you, in that first quarter, it was fun. In that first quarter, it was enjoyable. Sixers come out and score 42 points. They built up an 11-point lead on Sacramento. And by the way, at the last minute, I couldn't help myself. I told you I wasn't going to do it, but I actually went back on this word. At the last minute, I was like, you know what? I'm going to need a little extra added motivation to make sure that I stay up and also make sure that I stay into this game as I'm going to be getting up, like 3 o'clock in the following morning. So I bet the game. Sixers -5. I took our Sixers. I liked them. First game of the road trip. I liked them going out there and making a little bit of a point. And they made it interesting. They certainly did. But the Sixers ended up getting the win 119-111 over the Sacramento Kings. And that first quarter was great. 42 points by the Sixers, built that 11-point lead. And then the Kings, they couldn't miss. They couldn't miss pointers in the first half. Sacramento made 11 three-pointers in the first half. It was unbelievable what they were doing. They started blowing the Sixers out in the second quarter. They started taking a little bit of control of the game. Third quarter come out. They couldn't keep up. The Kings couldn't keep up with that pace that they had in the first quarter. In the first half. They only made 1 3 the rest of the way. So things started to go the way of the Sixers. And Doc Rivers, bless that man, Doc Rivers made an adjustment. De'Aaron Fox, who just went off last night, 32 points. He goes off last night, and it was just dominant. And they put Ben Simmons on him for whatever reason. It's just a bad matchup right there. So he only played 12 minutes, but Matisse Thybulle goes into the game. He starts logging some minutes. And Doc Rivers said after the game that it was just almost a better matchup for Matisse Thybulle to guard De'Aaron Fox than it was for Ben Simmons, Mr. Second Team All Defense. It was better for Matisse Thybulle to go in there and try to nullify things, or at least keep De'Aaron Fox off his mark more so than he was in the first half. So they make a little bit of an adjustment there, and that's one of the things you love about Doc Rivers coaching here, aside from the obvious, but it's the adjustments that he's able to make. And then even a little bit more so than that, you never see Tobias Harris, and we've talked about this before. You never really see Tobias Harris take over a game. And it didn't happen necessarily in this game against the Kings last night, but in the fourth quarter, it felt like Tobias was taking over the game. It felt like Tobias was the guy that would bring the ball up, slow the pace of the game, almost like, guys, we got this. We're not losing the first game of this road trip. We got Portland coming up in our next game. This is a game that we got to win. And it felt like Tobias Harris was the guy calming the storm for the Sixers. Was playing in the post well, hit a big three. You saw, I think it was also Shake Milton came up with a big three late in that game. You saw a guy like Tobias Harris finally step up in clutch minutes. Now, he had the game-winning shot against the Lakers, so I'm not nullifying that. But in terms of overall pace and style of play, it seems like usually we look to Ben Simmons as the guy that'll calm that storm, controlling the offense. This a lot more looked like Tobias Harris doing that. And also Joel Embiid, who struggled a little bit in the first half. He got Rashawn Holmes in foul trouble early, which was good. But late in that game, you saw Joel Embiid start to come alive as well, drawing more fouls, getting to the line again, using his mid-range game, and ultimately helping to take over that game as well. It was a nerve-wracking game to watch because you knew the Sixers were better than what you were seeing, and you knew that they could play at a much higher level than what you saw last night. But getting off the plane, getting into Sacramento, going through all the things they got to go through to play a game nowadays, they came out and they got the victory. It was a great win. And anytime you can start a road trip like that, a West Coast swing with a game like that where you weather the storm and then you end up taking control late, that makes you feel good, at least as a Sixers fan. And listening to Doc Rivers after the game talk about what Matisse Thybulle had done, defensively speaking, and also listening to Doc Rivers talk about it after the game in getting Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris going as well. It was comforting because you never felt like things were going to start to unravel, but you never know how these things can start off. They feel a little sluggish, just getting to Sacramento, whatever. But listening to Doc Rivers after the game talk about Joel Embiid and talk about Tobias Harris and how they stepped up in this game was great. And one of the other things, the reason they got out to that 42-point first quarter was Seth Curry, who was on fire to start this game. And if the Sixers are going to get a fourth quarter version of Tobias Harris like they got, and if they're going to get Joel Embiid just like he's been playing all season long, which is an MVP rip, and they have Ben Simmons playing his great defense and facilitating the way he can, and then Seth Curry can be that shooter that he had started to be pre-COVID, because that's what he said. It tested positive for COVID. He's trying to get his body back in shape, get his body back going again the way it was before he tested positive. And he came out last night and he looked like a guy that was well within himself again, a guy that knew basically everything he needed to do on the floor. He knew the spots he needed to get to. He looked like he had his shooter's touch back last night. And getting the Sixers going early certainly helped them late. We're possibly talking about the Sixers going down 20 points if Seth Curry wasn't getting it going in the first quarter for the Sixers and hitting threes. We're talking about the Sixers not just looking at it maybe a 10-point deficit, but maybe a 20-point deficit. We're talking about that fourth quarter not even being close by the time that rolled around. So the way he played early helped the Sixers at least weather that storm late. And it was the Sixers coming together with a great, quote-unquote, cliche team win. And one of the best plays I saw of the game was about elbow, foul line extended. Joel Embiid gets the ball, turns and faces, double teamed, couldn't do anything with it, picks up his dribble, and he finds Tobias Harris on the perimeter on the other side of the court, foul line extended, and he hits a three that really was the Sixers are going to win this game type of moment last night. One of the big surprises in the game, and this is the first time he's done this, and we never talk about him in this regard, but I loved Mark Zumoff's call for him last night on NBC Sports Philadelphia. All hail the Sultan! Furkan Korkmaz drives the lane, fakes a pass to the block, goes up with it, slams it down. Mark Zumoff yells out, all hail the Sultan. And I haven't heard that one yet for Furkan Korkmaz, but hey, I'm into it. I think it's cool. You watch the entire game. That was one play that really stuck out to me because I didn't expect it. And now Furkan Korkmaz has done that more than a couple of times already just this season. And I do forget every once in a while that the man is a Turkish slam dunk champion, so the contest champion. So that's good for Furkan. As promised, we're not mentioning that guy's name that plays for the Eagles. By the way, the Sixers have Portland Trail Blazers coming up tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. So I mentioned we're not going to mention the name of the guy that's currently occupying possibly the starting quarterback position of the Philadelphia Eagles. Adam Caplan is going to do that for us momentarily. But here is one football thing that I did see yesterday that does surround the Philadelphia Eagles that gave me a little, no, I don't need that. No, thank you. And what that was Todd McShay's latest top 10. Todd McShay of ESPN with his latest top 10 mock draft. Our Philadelphia Eagles select at number 6. Here's the good news. At least I feel it's the good news. They take a wide receiver, according to Todd McShay, at number 6. They take a wide receiver. The wide receiver they take is not Devontae Smith, the reigning Heisman champion, the Heisman Trophy winner. They take Jamar Chase out of LSU. Now, That upsets me a little bit. Not because I think Jamar Chase is some bust. It upsets me because the idiot-proof, no one would really complain about wide receiver that would be right there. Of course, the Eagles pass on him in this mock draft. So that perturbed me just a little. I was a little perturbed. But what was more shocking to me was that at least they still took a wide receiver from a big school, from LSU. They didn't go to Stanford again, right? They didn't go to TCU, which is not it's a big school, but not like an LSU. Certainly not like an Alabama. And they pass in this draft on Devontae Smith. And I was thinking to myself, that's the move that would piss off Eagles fans. They would be happy they got a guy from LSU. They got Jamar Chase. They'd be happy that they got a wide receiver, that they went that direction. Like, if I described it to you, how it would all play out, most Eagles fans would be like, all right, good. So they went ahead, they big name wide receiver. They got a guy that actually went out there and actually played at a big name school. So obviously it was Devontae Smith. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No, I'm sorry. It was Jamar Chase. And then we go, I'm still happy, but I'm not as ecstatic as I would want to be. It was just an interesting thing I saw from Todd McShay. Coming up a little bit later, we do have some Flyers talk for you to make sure we're covering all our sports here in the city of brotherly love. We have some unfortunate news when it comes to the Flyers. I wish we would be talking about them playing. And a former Flyer executive, fairly recent Flyer executive, as well as a favorite player here in Philadelphia, is now playing for the enemy. And probably one of the worst things you could possibly say now that you're going to be working for the enemy. We're going to get to those stories and more coming up in just a second. But right now, let me tell you about my good friend, Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Ladies and gentlemen, Sunday is Valentine's Day. That's right. Sunday is Valentine's Day. Are you prepared? If not, IHateStevenSinger.com is what you need to check out. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com for Steven's brand new gold-dipped roses. The Twinkle Twinkle is a beautiful rose. It's the new one that he's featuring this year, and it is nothing short of spectacular, people. If you followed me here to this platform in the digital media world, then you know I am with Steven Singer. He considers himself to be the Walmart and Tiffany's baby. If they had a baby, that would be Steven Singer, because you know you're getting the best value at the lowest price possible. Doesn't mess around with sales and discounts, nothing like that. No. You know you're getting the perfect price every single time. And with Valentine's Day on Sunday, don't miss out at IHateStevenSinger.com to avoid shipping delays, people. Steven has the #1 Valentine's Day gift, this real rose dipped in 24-karat gold, preserved and guaranteed to last a lifetime. No better time to say I love you, especially with the brand new Twinkle Twinkle deep blue sparkling rose, the color of the night sky just as the sun goes down. Go now to IHateStevenSinger.com and get free shipping. IHateStevenSinger.com, starting at just $59. Folks, we did it. We did it. We got through a full 15-minute opening segment without mentioning the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, or I guess would be the backup by the end of the season. And I'm not going to say his name. No. I'm going to instead let our friend Adam Caplan of Inside the Birds podcast, also with Jeff Mosher, I'm going to go ahead and let him tell you all the latest when he joins us here coming up right now on the Zatos Investments guest line. Right now, obviously from Inside the Birds podcast with Jeff Mosher. You can also follow him on Twitter at Kaplan NFL. Adam, how you doing, man?
Mark, good to be with you. Long time no speak, but I'm glad to be on your new show. Pretty exciting.
It's a first-time appearance by it. I'm honored to have you. Hopefully the first of many.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, my friend. And it's certainly an interesting time in Eagleville and around the National Football League with all the quarterback talk, who's staying, who's being traded, and all that. And it's a little bit different this year. We're going to have more quarterbacks on the move than ever.
It certainly seems like that. Now, I made a promise, and this is the first time I'm saying this man's name, Carson Wentz. I made a promise the first 15, 20 minutes of the show to the audience. I wouldn't mention that name because I knew Adam Caplan would have more to offer than I would. So right now, what is the latest for everybody when it comes to Carson Wentz and what the Eagles plan on doing with him?
Look, it's Wednesday morning, right? So the trade could go down literally any second. It could go down in 5 minutes. It could go down in 5 days. It's going to happen. Why do I say that? Carson Wentz has made it plain to the Eagles privately that he doesn't. He just wants out. Okay, he doesn't want to be an Eagle anymore, and they're going to do their best to accommodate him, but they're not going to give him away. And that's the thing I would warn people when you see this report of the trade's imminent. It may be. I mean, he may get traded very soon, within minutes and within hours or days. But, the Eagles are not going to give him away, particularly Harry Roseman, the general manager who's responsible for the roster. He's just not going to give him away. And that, to me, is kind of where this is at. It's real simple. Once Roseman's satisfied, this thing's getting done. Like I said, it could be any time now. I'm not surprised hasn't gotten done yet. But I know from talking to various teams and sources and so forth, I know who's been in the lead. Moshe and I talked about it. Wow, it's actually been a week 6 days ago, which we wrote a piece for our website, InsideTheBirds.com. We outlined the Colts and the Bears. We felt strongly that's where people we trust around the league thought he'd go. Look, there's always a chance, Mark, there'd be another team that sneaks in there. But if we were doing odds, I'm certainly going to put it on the Bears or the Colts.
All right, those are the two names that have been mentioned the most. There's been talk about a mystery team coming into effect here. Do you believe in that mystery team, or is that possibly just maybe the Eagles trying to drum up interest elsewhere?
No, I think it's actually teams. It's because when you're shopping a high name, a popular name who's a quarterback, and we understand Wentz was benched last season. But if you talk to general managers and personnel directors and quarterback coaches and offense coordinators, Mark, they'll tell you how such a high respect they have for Wentz's talent. Yes, he got benched. Yes, he's fallen off. But it's not like he's been in the league 10 years. If he had been in the league 10 years, write him off, and the Eagles would be lucky to get a third-round pick. He was just drafted in 2016. This whole situation is just almost hard to believe, but we are where we are. A high regard for this player. Now, obviously, he's fallen off, and the reasons for that, and obviously, if you're going to trade for him, you have to have done your homework and understand who you're getting and what it's going to take for him to get back on top.
Now, Adam, it's interesting you mentioned that. How did we get here? I mean, what are the one or two or three top reasons as to how we got here so fast from drafting him second overall in 2016 to an MVP caliber player in 2017 to somebody that rallied the team at the end of not this past season but the season before to get to the playoffs? How did this just fall apart so quickly?
All right, so we don't have an hour, so let me sum it in about a minute and 25 seconds.
Okay.
2016, by rookie standards, by people who graded the tape, who I've spoken with, he was pretty good by rookie standards. So you're feeling good about him in year two, going into year two. He was at the best football I've seen in my life in this market in Philly. Okay, as long as I've been watching football since the mid to late 70s, as good as Ron Jaworski was, it's not even close to how good Wentz was in 17. As good as Donovan McNabb wasn't even close to what he did in 17 before he got hurt. This is absolutely looked like you could see why the Eagles traded up. Why Howie Roseman made that trade. It looked like they were going to get this one right. He's going to be best quarterback in Eagles history. I was at the game in L.A. in December when he tore his ACL. And, I gave the coaches credit, obviously, for somehow rescuing this team and Doug Peterson's enthusiasm and positivity for not to get down on the team and bring everybody up. One of the all-time coaching jobs, no question, he and his staff. But, okay, ACL injury, a little bit of other damage to his knee. Then he suffers a back fracture. But by tape study, he did a good job. His completion percentage went up by 9%, which is almost unheard of. So he's still feeling really good. 19, very uneven, Mark. You saw some things. This is what people tell me, who I trust. This is when the regression started. I understand, not the greatest receiver core. I understand all the injuries, okay? That doesn't excuse the mechanics, the regression in the overall level of play from stuff that he could control. Okay? You can't blame it all on one particular thing. It was partially him, yes. Partially on coaching, absolutely. So it's amalgamation, Mark, of a bunch of factors. In 2020, he was poor. As Moshe will test on our show Inside the Birds, which we have now every day now in the offseason, twice a week. The days are Monday and Thursday that we drop it, whether it's on YouTube or podcast version. I mean, I've said it many times. He should have been benched before he was actually benched. I
agree wholeheartedly.
Wouldn't you say watching him?
Oh, absolutely. And then there'd be an opportunity to see how he responds from being benched. Get Jalen Hurts out there, get him some reps. Okay, fine. Everyone would know it was a benching without actually being a benching. I called for it in the Browns game, and they decided not to do it. But yeah, then you could also let Carson Wentz back in there, see how he responds, and you'd have a little bit more wiggle room for the rest of the season.
No doubt. And truth, I don't know Carson, but I was probably, of the national and local media, the biggest supporter of them trading up for Wentz. I did a lot of homework on him. I didn't think it was remotely close on Goff in terms of talent, and that definitely is true. Now, no, but both their team, Rams have moved on for Goff, incredibly, the number 1 pick, and the Eagles on the verge of doing it, whether it's today or in 3 weeks, who knows? But fact of the matter is, I never saw this coming. This, to me, is such a sports tragedy for Philadelphia. It's embarrassing, quite frankly. So many people have a hand in it. It bothers me as someone who's a purist of the game, and I just don't report. We analyze and we love football. This never should have happened, and a lot of people share the blame on this thing. It's not just the quarterback or the coaches. It's really an organizational issue.
So that would explain why not just moving on from Doug Peterson would be a reason why Carson would still want out.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I'm not going to criticize any particular reporter. So Mosher and I have been pretty out there on the way we felt on our show, and I had said, like, look, be careful of saying, because I knew it wasn't true at the time. I just wasn't going to bash anyone. I said, be careful of people saying that this will placate Carson Wentz because they fired Peterson. Was it part of it? He didn't want to work with him anymore? Sure. That's not why he got fired. He got fired as we outlined exactly what happened. When the reports came out, Mark, that, okay, Peterson has the Eagles want to keep Doug Peterson, which is true, that he's expected to return. What Jeff and I said on our show is not so fast. Depends how this meeting goes. And by the way, the meeting was terrible. Didn't go very well. Neither did the second meeting. So you've got to understand, when people around the league know that the coaching was poor for the quarterback, Doug Peterson going into a meeting saying he wants to keep everything status quo is not going to go over well. Jeffrey Lurie knows enough that no way, no how, and it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that seems to be evident, obviously, right now. Adam, so looking at Carson Wentz now, and that word fixed gets thrown around a lot. Can he be fixed here in Philly? What does he need to fix? How does he need to improve? What does he need to do to get back to even something close to that MVP caliber form that we saw in 2017, if that's even obtainable again?
Yeah, what I call it, Mark, I don't call it being fixed. I call it being rebuilt. There's no, fixing, I don't even know what it means. I'm not criticizing you, but when people say it,
right,
I don't know if they know what it means. What it is it's a rebuild. This guy is so broken. Now, you talk about fixing. The way you rebuild him, which needs to be done with this player, is you start with his feet. And you work, he's totally out of whack with his footwork. I'm told by multiple teams that have looked at Wentz, they both say the same thing. His eye discipline's poor. He freelances too much. He needs to get back to being coached hard, okay, wherever he goes, whether it's Indy or Chicago or another team. They have to know that, because the tape study tells you everything. It's not like you need to talk to anyone to coach Wentz. The tape tells you he's lost right now. But everything, Mark, that it's been wrong with him can be rebuilt. That's the good thing about it. Not that it's ever good that the guy's lost, but it's all able to be rebuilt. What we need, though, with him is a full offseason. We don't need him waiting till August again to start practicing. That's not helpful.
No, absolutely. And I know he had some criticism here in Philadelphia. Other guys, Tom Brady going to, the greatest of all time. Tom Brady going to Tampa and working out with his guys on a playground, whatever it was. People were looking at Carson saying, all right, when do we see a little bit more of that from you, Carson? Because we originally saw it with he was going out to North Dakota with guys like Jordan Matthews, listening to country music and, hanging out in kayaks. And then we haven't seen that for some time.
Well, no, actually, if I remember correctly, I think Moshe reported last March, maybe, maybe March, or I don't know. I'm fairly certain he did something with those guys before the shutdown. But nevertheless, you make a great point. Whenever you're the starting quarterback, the more time that you spend with your receivers, the better you are. Particularly now, and we have no idea what May and June, Mark, is going to look like for the offseason. There's no guarantee that we're going to have an offseason again, which is awful for the young players. All 32 NFL teams have young players that now, which will be second-year players or rookies last year, that didn't have an offseason. Just think how better they're going to be if they have a May and June offseason. I was told by a prominent assistant offensive coach in the National Football League that his players missed a minimum of 500 snaps in the offseason. Minimum. Think of it. You can't make that up, man.
No, and it makes me think about Jalen Hurts. We talked to Jason Avant last week on the show, and Jason said that when Jalen doesn't know the play, and there were instances where he didn't know the play because he didn't know the whole playbook yet, he just made the play. He tried to make a play with his legs as a quarterback, which is fine as an athlete. But if there was ever a time to give an athlete, especially a rookie quarterback in the NFL, a little bit of leeway with not knowing everything in the playbook, I think this would have been the year to do so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's only so much you can do when you're Jalen Hurts because he only got the final quarter of the season to start. The plan was never to play him. We all know this. It was supposed to be Wentz is their Eagles guy. That's why they extended his contract in June of 2019. And then you have this crazy situation where he's such a bad regression that he's got to be benched. And without Hurts having an offseason, I mean, this is just not the fairest thing to do to put him in there like that. But the good thing is he got that practical experience. We're fully expecting him to be the starter in 2021. And then you'll see after that, I'm not saying it's a one-year tryout, but in effect, it really is because if he does well, then you pretty much feel like he's going to be the starter for years to come. So the hope is with this new coaching staff, hopefully they're going to get him on the field in May and June for the post-draft OTAs and go from there.
All right, now speaking with Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds podcast, the question then begs, so Jared Goff, you mentioned that trade. You mentioned being drafted number 1 right before Carson Wentz, obviously. Can the Eagles get back a Jared Goff type of return or what do you call it, Matthew Stafford type of return, I guess would be, for Carson Wentz?
Yeah, so let me address a couple things here because I just so people understand. Both trades are so complete. Well, Wentz has been traded yet, but both situations are so different. I mean, first of all, Jared Goff yielded extra compensation because the Lions were willing to take on his $25 million base salary this season. Okay, that's the first thing. So it was quarterback for quarterback. Don't forget. Although you could speculate or think that Nick Foles might be included. Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to speculate that if the Eagles and Bears do business, it would not surprise me at all if Nick Foles is included for various reasons. But getting back to your question, no, they're not. No one. I've asked this question to so many personnel people around the National Football League over the last 2 weeks because I've been working on the Watson story, seeing if that ever comes to fruition. I talked to a general manager within the last week. He said they absolutely won't even talk about Watson, the Texans. So, but when you look at this thing, the value is very simple. It's not 2 first-round picks. And why do I say that? Carson Wentz was benched last season. If he wasn't benched, we're not talking about this because Carson Wentz is not going anywhere. Not that the Eagles want to trade him because of the cap hit, obviously, is enormous, over $33 million. But as long as he showed that he's where he needs to be, we're not talking about a trade, no matter how much Carson wants out. Unfortunately, because of COVID, you really can't sit him down. But you look at the situation going forward now, you add everything up, he wants out. Eagles really don't want to trade him, but you know what? They want to do right by him. They want to get as much as they can, but the guy was benched. You're not getting 2 first-round picks. The only way a team, Mark, could even consider 2 first-round picks is if you're getting something back in return that's significant. You would get a starter back. And still, even though I don't see Chris Bauer, the GM, the Colts, doing anything remotely like that. He's big in the draft. He's not big in the free agency. He's building – look at the way they built that team since he's gotten there. They're building for the draft. And now Ryan Pace, the GM of the Bears, he's got more challenges here. They've got to solve that quarterback position because they barely survived coming back. Remember, they made the playoffs at 8-8 because of the 7th playoff team in the NFC.
Yeah, no. So to boil it down, then Howie is right now, and you saying I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree that right now we're in a holding pattern, and right now Howie is seeing what he could get in maybe at the last minute to trade Carson. What do you think that deal is? What do you think the offer on the table is right now for Carson Wentz? Do you think it is at least 1 first-round pick? It is a second-round pick? What would you say that offer is coming into Howie Roseman sitting on his desk right now?
Well, let's put it this way. We'll move this forward. I think when it gets done, and it will get done, I don't see any way Carson Wentz returns just because where he's at and how much he wants out from people I've heard from the last month. Once that goes down, I expect him to get a 1+. Now, could that be a 1 and a future draft pick? Could that be a 1 and something and they have to give something back? I can't answer that. But I thought you framed this very well because that's my understanding. They've talked to the Bears and Colts multiple times. I know that's a fact. Roseman's talked to these teams. Whoever called whom doesn't matter. They've talked. The Eagles have talked to other teams. Other teams have called them. Like I said at the top of our discussion here, when Carson Wentz is available, you wanted to. We know that he was benched. We get all that, but the talent has not left him. Everything else is in question, but the talent, and the arm strength, and the athleticism, the size, has not left him at 28 years old. You're going to make a call. You're going to want to see where Howie Roseman's at, and then you're going to go from there. So I don't see much else that needs to be done other than what you said, and I love the way you framed it. You just want to make sure you've talked to everyone and then followed up. And that could be done literally in a day, because you can kind of know where you're going here and go, you know what, let me make a couple more calls here. We didn't follow up with that team. Let me call that team back. Make sure that they're, hey, if you're the GM and I'm calling you, Mark, hey, Mark, listen, I think we're pretty set here, but I just want to say, I want to talk to you once again, because I know you haven't made a decision on your quarterback situation. Do you want to, we feel like we got a first here, at least a first. Do you want to beat that? Or do you want to come in stronger here? If not, we're done. Where are you at with this? And it doesn't take very long.
Yeah. Adam, last thing for you. Do you laugh as hard as I do when reports come out about Howie Roseman not hanging up on people that are calling about trades? Because I don't know any GM that's just like, what? No, click. Like, who does that?
You know what? I will say this. I know what I've talked to a lot of teams about Deshaun Watson, because
Sure.
the thing is just ugly. And I one GM tell me he feels certain he's going to be traded. He doesn't know when, but he said it's only going to get worse between Watson and the team. And these guys know a lot more than I do, and you do, and anyone listening when you discussions, because I find this stuff interesting and fascinating. But I love your point about this, because if you're the GM, Nick Caserio of the Texans, at some point you're going to at least have to listen. Like you said, like
right.
The personal people have called the Texans. They're not hanging up. They're just not going to talk about it. As this one source said to me, the quote was, I should put this out on Twitter, but I'm putting it on your show right now.
Thank you.
The quote is this. It was, we're not going there, which means even talking about Watson, talking about trading. And the subject was, and then I guess they went to another subject. So right now, as we speak here, we're in early February. The draft isn't until, late April. So it doesn't have to be done now. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to do it, you're going to want to do that Deshaun Watson before the draft, because you want to get compensation for that current draft.
I like that. We're not going there. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Adam, just because I know I want a little bit of a Sixers fix from you. I know you're a big Sixers guy. Joel Embiid, MVP?
Absolutely. And I know I'm biased.
You're a reporter. You're an objective reporter.
But I am Mark, I flew out to the 0-1 finals at my own dime. I paid $500 a seat, because, it's actually well, here's the thing. Let me give you a little pro tip, all your listeners here.
Okay.
If you ever want to go to a game alone, because it is really impossible. This is the Staples Center. It is very difficult. A ticket broker told me to sell single seats. Who goes alone?
Right.
Like
Okay.
a schlep like me. I was in high school in 82, 83. So I was, what was I in 10th grade, 11th grade? When the Sixers beat the Lakers, I had tickets for the 5th game, which was in Philly. They were upstairs, but I never got to use it because they won in 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm not missing this. I don't care what it costs. So I got them off eBay, as a matter of fact. So I just to sum it up, dude, I am the biggest Sixer fan. I love what I love Daryl Morey and what he's doing. He's so aggressive.
Absolutely.
They need and I agree with Doc Rivers. They need a backup 4 in the worst way, because Mike Scott's knee obviously is not well.
Right.
Who knows when he's playing? They need a backup 4. Now I know for the cap's different in the NBA than it is in the NFL. It's not easy to do these trades when you're tight and you got to match up salaries and all that. But I know JJ Redick is not quite the same. But let me tell you something. If you can work it out, I want JJ Redick back, because they need more bench scoring. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Have that shooter coming off the bench? Yes, please, and thank you.
And I'll take, you know what? And people will laugh at me. I'll take Ersan Ilyasova for 12 minutes a game, and he can shoot.
Yes.
I'll take him for 12 minutes. He's out there, right? He's coming back.
Yeah, he still has his name's being dangled out there in trade rumors. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll take. He's a free agent.
I guess free agent. I'm sorry. Yeah. Redick to trade. Yeah.
I need the Sixers badly need a backup stretch forward for 15 minutes. I'll take that, because I'll tell you what, they are a good basketball team. And what are they, 13-0 when they got their full lineup, something like that?
Full lineup now. They're 13-0. Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you what. They're going to go far, man. They if they could stay in one piece here, they could go far. Doc Rivers has done a phenomenal job.
I love what he's done. It's enjoyable basketball. It's smart, heads up basketball, and this is the best version, as we started the conversation with, as it pertains to the Sixers, best version of Joel Embiid we've ever seen by a million miles.
And he's playing back-to-backs. It's just phenomenal.
It's great. Adam Caplan, always great catching up with you, man. Thanks so much for being on the show. Inside the Birds podcast, you and Jeff Mosher, you guys are putting it out twice a week. We could watch it on YouTube as well?
Yeah, it's YouTube and obviously, and any podcast version, obviously Apple or Android. And then, we do interviews. We do these, what are called Inside the Birds television, sponsored by DraftKings. We'll do interview anyone, any ex-player, Joe Banner we've done. Joe's been phenomenal. Greg Kosel from NFL Films. We'll talk to anyone where we all can learn, not just Jeff and I, where our listeners and viewers can learn. And we appreciate everyone, and we appreciate our guy, Josh Weinfeld, who's been the eyes and ears for everything we've done, and really appreciate his help. And Hunter Brody, who is our producer, and everyone who's been helping us, and our friends from Rebel Hill Productions, and as you know, James and Zach. And it's just been our before I get out of here, our show has gone in places we never thought. And I got to give Josh credit. To think we could pull off a TV show is just, I thought he was wrong. I didn't think we could do it. I was like, no way. I was like, no way, man. How? I said, I know a little bit about television. You're not putting together a television show in 1 week. But we did this pregame show, which is unbelievable.
And it's great. It's great.
Oh, my
really
God.
is.
The visual. Oh, my God. It was, the background and at Goose Island in downtown Philly. But so just a little bit aside, really proud of what we did and more to come.
You should be, my friend. Congrats. You deserve every ounce of it, my man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Adam Caplan joining us right here on the Zatos Investment Guest Line. Gotta love Adam Caplan. Here's what's funny. All these people are known for, like Adam Caplan, known for knowing football. But the minute you put that quarter in the machine for something else that he loves, like the 76ers, oh, man, he'll just keep going, just as good as football. A little bit more passion because it's not the job. It's just the passion, which is basketball and the 76ers. Once again, my thanks to Adam Caplan. Thank you, Adam, for jumping on with us Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you check that out. Now, that's some great insight from Adam Caplan. Some great stuff to ponder throughout the day. He's on board with just about everybody else. His source is telling him the same thing that a lot of people are telling other people, which is it's going to happen. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen in the coming seconds, but it's going to happen as far as Carson Wentz getting traded. 6:40 in the morning, and I just said that for the first time. Carson Wentz, that's right. So Adam Caplan broke it down well for us, but as great as he could be, I think I need a little bit more insight. Who better to go to for more insight on the Carson Wentz fiasco right now with the Philadelphia Eagles than you, Philadelphia? That's right. That's why I took to the streets in this week's edition of Farzy in the Field to ask the good people of Philadelphia, what do you want the Eagles to do with Carson Wentz? And what is taking so long? And that's brought to you by our good friends at Fan Up. Check it out. What do you want the Eagles to do with Carson Wentz, and what is taking so long?
The problem is they're confused. They don't know if they want to keep him or let him go. But I say get rid of him.
It's got to be that they're not getting what they want for him. They think he's worth more than actually what he's worth. So, if it's going to take this long, I'd rather them wait it out and just see what they can get for him.
In the meantime, you want the Eagles fans to use their world-class patience.
Absolutely. You gotta stick it out. Hey, we stuck out COVID, so why not?
What do you want to do with Carson Wentz, and what is taking so long?
Get him out of here! Jalen Hurts.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just, in the mask and the hat and the noise, I didn't hear that. What did you want to do with Carson Wentz?
He gotta go. He gotta go. Deuces. See ya. See you later.
What's taking so long? I guess they're probably asking for too much.
I wanted them to make him a team player. He's not an individual. It's not an individual sport. It's a team sport.
Honestly, I think we should get rid of him. Him and I back up. We definitely need a new quarterback, personally.
All right, so you're in the school of Carson needs to get out of here and Jalen Hurts needs to get out of here.
Yes.
Just maybe no quarterback going in next year.
No. Well, I'm good. Look, we don't need it.
He has not showed up yet, except the 1 year he had the best year of his life, the year that we won the Super Bowl. So, again, let's that guy go. Let my man Jalen Hurts get a chance. He's that bold.
What do you think is taking so long?
quarantine. That's all I got.
Quarantine?
That's all I got.
It's
Due
the
to the-
fact that they paid Carson Wentz so much money to do nothing and keep getting injured.
Good point. So quarantine, due to the pandemic, it's taking so long, and all that money.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we did the work for you, Howie. I think we did the work for you. Thank you,
See
ladies.
ya.
Really, I mean, the city is just riddled with all people that are the insiders, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to what's going on with their beloved Philadelphia Eagles. All great suggestions. I do like the group of ladies, the 3 ladies that just said get rid of them. They want to go with Jalen Hurts. I was amazed, and I'll tell you this: when I go and do those bits, when I go out and do those segments, I look for fair and balanced. I look for I'm not swaying people. I just simply ask them, are you an Eagles fan? Cool. Can you weigh in? Do you want to weigh in? They say yes. I start rolling. I don't say, hey, I need some Jalen Hurts people. Hey, I need some Carson Wentz people. No, it's fair and balanced. It's what you call journalism. All right? Journalistic integrity, to be more specific. And that's how they felt. I didn't find one person that was like, yeah, Carson's the guy. We have no problem. We're good. Yeah, no, it was either Jalen Hurts or, as you heard the one gentleman say, get rid of both of them. And maybe just no quarterback going into next season. So we'll see how that plays out. My thanks to the people that, stopped in to talk to me about some football yesterday while they were going about their day. And again, that's brought to you by Fan Up. Do have to tell you about some other fine sponsors of this program. Zatos, who also sponsors our guest line, obviously. Zatos Investments, up-and-coming luxury real estate development investment company in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs and also ground-up new construction townhomes and condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. These guys are right now, they're crushing it in the Philly real estate game, so that's why you got to check it out. Also, you can see their properties and learn how you can invest with Zatos. Reach out to info@ZatosInvestments.com or visit ZatosInvestments.com itself. Also, our good friends at Steak and Maine, you hear us talking about them all the time. Steak and Maine, fine dining in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Whether you dine in a more upscale steakhouse or casual bar and patio, you will enjoy the highest quality prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. Also, listen to this extensive wine list, including their own Cavada Cellars wines. That's right, Tony Cavada, my man. His family's got a great wine list of his Cavada Cellars wines. It's just fantastic. Great pairing with a lot of the steaks and meals you can get there at Steak and Maine. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland, voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com for more information. Coming up, we got our big bet segment, and I get to do some humble bragging. A little bit, at least. We'll get to that. But right now, we got to bring you our Morning Rush, brought to you by the great people of Sky Motor Cars. Morning Rush, I teased it earlier. Ron Hextall is now a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We had gotten used to the whole Rick Tocchet thing, going out there, playing for Pittsburgh, working for Pittsburgh and all that. Now another one bites the dust, so to speak. Ron Hextall is now the general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, some people think, well, you know what? He didn't really do much here in Philadelphia as far as winning went. I don't believe they didn't even win a playoff series under Ron Hextall. They were in the rebuilding mode, and I was on board with that. It was just, a little impatient. I certainly grew a little impatient when it came to a rebuilding mode here with the Philadelphia Flyers. So Ron Hextall now is taking over the Penguins. He did leave the Sixers with some pretty damn good prospects, Carter Hart being one of them, but he now goes out there and works for the Penguins. That's fine. It's a business. I get it. I hate the Penguins more than any other team. Yes, I know I am in the far minority here. I hate the Penguins more than I hate the Cowboys. That's how I am. Ron Hextall working for the Penguins, I can live with. I get it. It's a business, like I said. What I don't like is Ron Hextall coming out in his introductory Zoom conference and saying that he loves rivalries and he loves hating the other team. So does Ron Hextall now hate us? I don't know if I could live in a world with Ron Hextall hating me, but that's what he said. And I think of all the things you say, you don't say that. You can say you love rivalries, but don't imply that you now hate me. You hurt my feelings there, Ron Hextall. But anyway, he's the GM of the Penguins now. Also, more hockey news. I wish I could be talking about the Flyers actually playing some games. Their season is on pause right now, along with several other NHL teams, 5 to be exact. The New Jersey Devils being one of them also. But the Flyers off for a while now. 3 members of the Flyers, including Captain Claude Giroux, on the COVID protocol list right now. I believe they have to quarantine from their families, and that's terrible. I know Claude Giroux has a young son at home, and that's awful. Awful for hockey fans, obviously, that they can't watch their Flyers, and awful for the human aspect of the games that we do follow. Also, along with Claude Giroux, Justin Braun, and Travis Sanheim, also on the COVID protocol list for the Flyers. Their game yesterday against the Capitals postponed. So it looks like 3 games in a row, if not 4 games in a row for the Flyers, getting postponed due to COVID protocols. That's the news in hockey. In basketball, more things to touch on in the basketball world. The Nets dropped their 3rd straight, losing to the Pistons yesterday, 122-111. Kyrie Irving, I believe he had a 23-point night. James Harden, I think 27-point night against the Pistons. And in Detroit, you see the Nets yelling at each other. You see them frustrated, sitting during a timeout, kind of pointing emphatically, what's going on here? People are frustrated with what you hate to see it, folks. You hate to see it. Now, Kevin Durant did not play in that game. He's still going through COVID protocol and all that. But Kyrie Irving was back in the game after missing that Sixers game with the index finger injury. James Harden played as well, like I said. So the Nets falling apart. They they play. I believe it's tonight. I think as part of a back-to-back. They're back home against the Pacers in Brooklyn. So we'll see if the Nets get back on the winning track. Hopefully not. Also in the NBA, Seth Curry's our guy now. Steph Curry, if you haven't seen it yet, there's only one thing that went more viral than Steph Curry's shooting ability yesterday, and he had another circus layup that was insane. If you haven't seen it, go to the internet, check it out right now. Also, the other thing that went viral was this lawyer. Now, there's two lawyers that went viral yesterday. One is involved in a much more serious matter, and that's what's going on right now in our political scene in the world, and that's the last I'll mention politics. But this started making the rounds. I saw it on Barstool originally, and then I got it texted from about 3 different people, and I was like, I saw it. It's amazing. It's nothing short of spectacular. If you haven't seen it yet, I am doing you a favor. If you're getting ready for your work day right now and you haven't seen this, the people that you're going to be working with are going to be referencing it. So to set the scene for you, let's go to Texas, where a judge and 2 lawyers, I believe, are jumping on a Zoom call, and one of the lawyers can't get a filter off of his computer, can't get a filter off of his Zoom camera, so it depicts him as a little cuddly kitty cat. Take a look.
And I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're
a
trying
look.
to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
This is one of those things. It's gonna be funny forever. And I gotta give credit to my wife. My wife's she's a cat lady. She has 2 cats. I do not have cats. I live amongst the cats. They are my roommates, and we try to respect each other's space. However, I'm shocked she hasn't done this for all the Zoom meetings she's had for her work. This is incredible, actually. This is one of those things that's just gonna be funny for a very long time, and I can't get enough of this guy.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
How nervous do you have to be to acknowledge and want to just highlight the idea? Hey, by the way, I'm not a cat. This is just a filter. I would love the person in the room that was like, what happened to him? Oh, he's not a cat. Okay. I'm glad we worked that out. I do give credit to the judge, though. Judge Ferguson is the man presiding on that Zoom call. The Honorable, I'm sure, says these fun moments are a byproduct of the legal profession's dedication to ensuring the justice system continues to function in these tough times. It's a teaching moment, is what it is. These little fun moments. Everybody involved in it handled it with dignity, and the filter lawyer showed incredible grace. True professionalism all around. I love that he's complimenting people. You know, I always, whenever moments like this happen, I always go back in my brain to high school and all the teachers, and even in grade school, all the teachers telling you how, like, this is how the world is structured. You have to act a certain way, or otherwise you're done. And then I become an adult and I do dumb things. And then I realize, no, that's more of what the world is than being structured and keeping it together. Although you should always do that. For the kids listening, you should do that. But something like this happening in our judicial system is even more enjoyable. So I know that'll be making the round, so I wanted to make sure people saw that. And I did promise that this show would be very audio friendly. I think even the audio of it's funny, but the visual is just fantastic. And anyone listening, I'm sure you'll be checking that out a little bit later. I mentioned that we're going to get in all our sports today, and we will a week from today. A week from today. Phillies pitchers and catchers report to Clearwater, Florida. And all the snow that might be on the ground by then, all the snow that's already falling, at least mentally for me, will have melted and we will be done with it. So I'm just ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic when pitchers and catchers report, especially in the times that we're in right now. Get a little baseball underway. Can't wait to watch that. Watch the Phillies play some ball this year. Do want to look at some other things today, and that was our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motor Cars. Our social media check-in brought to you by our friends at Steak and Maine. Couple of things out there. One is the clip from NBC Sports Philadelphia. I referenced it earlier. Furkan Korkmaz. That's on their Twitter feed. Furkan Korkmaz driving dunk last night. I believe it was in the first quarter against the Sacramento Kings. A great play by Furkan Korkmaz. A little out of character from how we know him. We know him as a three-point shooter for the most part. But every once in a while, if I'm saying Mike Scott's nickname correctly for him, Jerky Furky from Turkey. Every once in a while, has a nice little dribble drive penetration, throws it down for the slam dunk. Great to see that. Some of the check-ins there under that comment when Mark Zumoff yelled out, "All hail the Sultan." Somebody saying, "How do they come up with this stuff on the spot?" If Furkan Korkmaz is the Sultan, I have missed that boat. I have not heard that. If that's the new thing, I'm all on board for it. I'm still trying to make Dwight Howard's reference to the Dave Chappelle sketch of Tobias Harris being Prince Harris or Prince Tobias because he could ball game blouses. I still want that to be a thing. But if the Sultan thing is sweeping in for Furkan, by all means, let's party. I love every ounce of it. Also, social media check-in. Shout out to my former coworker, Maria Donahue. This is twofold. Dave Schaller does a great job. I believe the president of communications or VP of communications for the 76ers. He tweets out last night for a 10-10 tip-off. What is your go-to snack during a Sixers game? Now, me, I'm a nacho connoisseur. Love nachos. I don't know anyone that's like, nah, I'm good. I don't want nachos. Like, at least they take one nacho because nachos are amazing. So I, of course, go out there last night and I responded. I say, hey, game time doesn't affect me. I'm all nachos all the time. No, I don't break the routine. And Maria Donahue, who was a receptionist at one of the previous radio stations I worked at, came out, and I forgot this existed, tweeted a video of me being upset that the Lincoln Financial Field press box no longer served nachos. And that was very disappointing because at halftime I would always go and get some nachos, and that just didn't happen anymore. So sure enough, she video recorded me being upset about it. It was a joke, obviously. And I believe I said they took that money and paid Fletcher Cox, and that's why they don't have any nacho money. And I said, so I hope you have a great season. Lo and behold, Eagles ended up winning the Super Bowl. So Fletcher Cox, I can sacrifice nachos if it means we all get a parade. So good for you. So those are some of the things there for our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine. I left it out at the beginning of the show because I know we've just been inundated with Carson Wentz conversation. Certainly in the second half of the show, we got into it a lot with our friend Adam Caplan, and then the people on the streets in Philadelphia talking about what is going to happen with the Eagles quarterback. I still think that this is going to happen in the next week or two at most. Adam had talked about how it could happen by the end of his phone call today. And looking social media, looking at that check-in, nope, Carson Wentz is still an Eagle. I think that it's still lying in the weeds. I think that Howie Roseman is sitting and waiting to see who makes the biggest offer. I think if he's waiting for one of the reports has him going out there for a Matthew Stafford type of deal, I think that is just insane. But we have to remember that there is plenty of time here. And they're still going to be close to $34 million of cap and dead money for them to have to try to rework in any magical way possible to salvage anything from this Carson Wentz contract. They don't have to make a move. They don't have to do that right now. It would probably be in their best interest to do that before late April when the NFL draft happens. I still think this happens in the next week or two, at the absolute most 2 weeks, as they sit and wait to see how everything falls into place around the rest of the NFL. But right now, it's just a matter of working the phones like Adam Caplan just told us, and making sure at the last minute when you get that big offer, you make the rest of the rounds in the league for anyone else that was kicking the tires on Carson Wentz, and you simply say, these guys are giving us a 2. It's going to be an early 2. Any chance you can go to a 1. If you go to a 1, you get Carson Wentz. No, see ya. Bidding war is how it's going to play out, as it always does. And one of the interesting theories that comes out in all this, now I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more tomorrow, is Howie Roseman looking for a reset button yet again on his career. There was the obvious one when Chip Kelly was removed and he was brought back to oversee football operations for the Eagles. And now, with Doug Peterson being let go and possibly Carson Wentz not coming back, he's still going to be the constant here in the front office, along with the obvious Jeffrey Lurie. But Howie Roseman could very much be looking at this and waiting and taking his time, because this could be the moment he resets his career for a second time here, really a third time in his career here in Philadelphia. So Howie is looking at this as maybe a player that is in the final minutes of the fourth quarter of a very close game saying, I need to get the most points I can out of this game on this drive to ensure that when my defense comes back on the field, we're ready to go and we're in a good spot. And that's how Howie could be looking at it right now. Final seconds of an opportunity here for him to redeem himself, not just probably the rest of the front office and in the building at the NovaCare complex, and also give even more reassurance, get more reassurance from Jeffrey Lurie, but also in the eyes of the fans. Nick Foles could possibly do that if he's involved in a trade with the Bears. Getting a first-round pick for Carson Wentz could possibly do that, and then hitting on that first-round pick, if you're Howie, that could really do things. That could be a redo for you when it comes to a lot of the fans. But it's ultimately going to matter most what happens on the football field, and ultimately what fans want to see is not just moving on from Carson and getting the best value and getting maybe a first and a third for Carson, whatever it might be, a first and a fourth for Carson, whatever it might be, but also seeing how he used those picks for guys that can turn around and have a quick impact. Not we got to wait 3 years. No. Somebody that can get on the football field this year and help this team win. That's what we want to see. The other thing that really is riding with Howie here is Jalen Hurts himself. Moving on from Carson Wentz essentially means that Jalen Hurts is your starting quarterback going into next year. Obviously, that's a Howie pick. If Howie picks your quarterback that looks pretty damn good and is able to trade your other starting quarterback for a great return, then he is going to look pretty good in the eyes of a lot of fans. Big Bets brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Want to make sure I get this in. I got to take today off, folks. Yesterday was a really good day for me. I went 500. I think this pulls me. I'm counting 2 games. I referenced yesterday that my big bet was going down with the Portland Trailblazers. I thought yesterday they were at 4.5, minus 4.5 against the Magic. They did better than that. Apparently, they've got down to minus 6.5. They still covered that, so I won that bet yesterday. And then I just couldn't help myself. As I said earlier, I loved the 76ers going up against Sacramento last night. And in order to stay up for a little extra rejuvenation, I went ahead and threw $20 on the Sixers. So I won that bet. Sixers covered barely, but they covered the minus 5. So I won that bet. Went 2-0 on the night. Bounced back to now 500 overall since I've been making bets on this program. That's what I got for you as far as the big bets go. I'm going to take you know what? You got to pace yourself every once in a while. You got to pace yourself. But if you are going to bet tonight, make sure you do it with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older and take advantage of all that you have to all they have to offer. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks for watching this show, everybody. Appreciate you. You can check us out on YouTube later today. Also, download the podcast of this on all podcast platforms and follow us across all social media platforms as well. My thanks to Jim Hyden, who produced the program, and also Josh Weinfeld, who was also shouted out by our friend Adam Caplan, Buzz Sports and Entertainment. Thanks for watching the Farzy Show with Marc Farzetta. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.